Hello and welcome everyone to the LCS North American Challengers League, and a happy Lunar New Year to all of you in celebrations. The year of the rabbit is upon us, so let us hope we can see some cottontail skins upon us. But welcome to the desk. My name is Desirux. Over here is Beatdown. There, I'm getting my directions right. But we have a guest today. It's someone I've known for a very long time in the space. She's managed so many teams, including Wildcard, and now currently CLG Faith. Please welcome to the desk, Myra.
Hey, glad to be here. Super excited to be on the desk. Super excited for the games today. Should be really fun.
All right, so we've had our first day of NACL. Myra, I want to know personally from you, how you feeling about everything now that we had all those provisional teams getting those upsets 4 and 6 on the day?
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't contribute the way we wanted to that 4 and 6 record, but it's really cool to see all the provisional teams take it to the challenger teams. I think parity between the league is awesome to see. Some of the teams really getting caught off by certain picks and certain players, so it's always exciting to see, and I really hope that trend continues.
What about you, Beat? Were you surprised?
In some ways, yeah, and I'm kind of in agreement with Myra, where it's the same story as last year Proving Ground Summer, where some teams, specifically in the Challenger department, see teams at the time semi-pro, now we call them provisional, and they're like, we don't have to worry about those pocket picks. It's just cheese. They can't beat us with it, and if you were watching last night, well, Eric has something to give us a summary later on.
It doesn't take me back to Proving Ground Summer. It takes me back to Proving Ground Spring 2021. That was when a lot of amateur teams were completely kind of overlooked, and we had an amateur team win that whole thing in no org.
Yeah, no, that was definitely an exciting split to see. Everyone coming in from the start. The things in the past year was it was really hard to compare like top amateur teams to sort of the challenger/academy tier of teams because there's never any public crossover. But to see the teams actually win in public as opposed to just scrims was really awesome. And No Org put up an amazing show. They set the bar for what teams want to do for the future. So maybe we can see a repeat of that this year. But we're off to a good start. 4 and 6 is good.
And before we go on to what the day is going to be, how cool was it to actually see Viper and Sniper playing together, the Brothers of Destruction on the same team for 100 Thieves Challenger?
Yeah, that was honestly a pretty awesome thing to see. If you don't know, Viper was actually the top laner who won Proving Grounds in his first split way back on No Org in 2021, and he did end up subbing for AD carry for Unforgiven to play with his brother and Sniper. It was a cool thing. Unfortunately, that's already over as Unforgiven's going to be playing today.
All right. Well, that was in the past. We talked a little bit about Proving Grounds, but the future is the North American Challengers League. And for those of you who might be new here, we do have a little video to explain the format by yours truly right here. So let's throw it over to that. Welcome to the North American Challengers League. We've gone through quite a few renovations coming into 2023, but worry not, I'll be your guide. As we prepare for the next chapter of semi-pro play, why don't I give you a tour of some of the changes we have in store. The 2023 North American Challengers League will feature an expanded 16 teams that fall into one of two categories. The 10 franchise teams from last season will be known as fixed teams. Our 6 expansion teams will be known as provisional teams. These categories have implications on relegations, one of our big new changes. Only provisional teams can be relegated. We'll talk more about this in a moment. Moving on to the regular season, which consists of a single round robin where every team in the league will face off against each other in a best of 2. At the end of the regular season, all teams will be seeded into a double elimination playoffs bracket. After 3 weeks of play, we'll have a champion crowned on March 29th. This takes us to relegations. The 4 lowest placing provisional teams will compete against the top 4 from the 2 NACL qualifiers. This promotion tournament will take place on April 17th. The top 4 teams from this promotion tournament will qualify for promotion into the NACL Summer. We'll have more updates on this as we get closer to the date. With more teams, games, and opportunities for promotion, I have no doubt in my mind we're in for the most exciting season of semi-pro play yet. Be sure to catch the North American Challengers League's first day on January 21st at 1 p.m. Pacific. I'll see you there. A completely new system. Myra, I want to ask you personally, how do you feel about all the changes we have in the ecosystem?
I think it's amazing, giving opportunities for the sort of top tier of amateur, now semi-pro, to compete all year versus the sort of challenger tier is amazing. The problem I usually had with the past formats was that we'd only get like a week of official matches against the teams above us. But now when you spend an entire split against them, it's amazing. It's a great way to interact with them and improve the talent in the region.
Well, let's take a look at that talent on a different spectrum this time. I want to see some of the tweets they posted out. Now, we are going to pull out some of that information. The thing is, I haven't seen it. I know Beatdown hasn't seen it. We're going to have some live reactions to this. And Kill, starting it off, LCS or bust. I mean, with a 2-0 wildcard, why not? Why not?
I love the energy. I love players getting hyped about themselves. I mean, after those games by Keel, he deserves it. That was sick.
I love the avatar.
The avatar's so good.
Right, on to the next one. Diamond gonna farm some noobs tomorrow. Oh, insanity. You look so cute, brother.
That's a good one, yeah. I wonder if that was like the intent or that picture was from a different situation. I'm very interested.
I feel like that's definitely an out of context picture, and I hope that ends up in a fan cam soon. Great tweet.
Oh, it's gotta.
I want one of those edits with all the hearts and whatnot around the face. Get all the sparkly things going in. See this next one. I don't know. Sure seems like this is the start you want.
I think we got to be like really clear that he's quote tweeting that Immortal said this wasn't the start that we wanted, and Cubby immediately pounced on that because the beginning of this game was fantastic for Immortal's Challenger, for being real.
Yeah, I love the spice. I'm glad Cubby's the one to do it, so it's really fun to see. But yeah, that was that was an unfortunate set of circumstances there.
A little bit.
Okay, here comes the next one. Top Kingdom.
My
Team
goat, Surdy.
Liquid. That's Team Liquid first, by the way, coming out from Surdy. I missed the TLF game. I'm gonna say that. I was on stream 1. Beatdown, got information for me on that.
There was definitely ended up being 1-1, and TLF had a better showing in that second game. It's worth noting both Spawn and Surdy came out on Twitter saying that multiple players had 100 plus ping. There was even shown that who was it? City Witty had 149 ping at one point. It was insane.
I believe he plays from like Toronto. It's really hard for the Canadian players.
Still?
Yeah, I believe so. It's really hard when you're that far away, but hey, they took the dub. I love seeing Surdy pop off. He's a favorite of mine to see his tweets after games, so.
Yeah, and then him in the ecosystem, always great. Fly fam, well, you can shorten it to just FF. A little bit brutal right there, but I mean, after what I've been hearing out of that performance, ouch.
I mean, someone was going to make the joke.
Yeah. I love this one, though. Yeah, it's just great that players, it's not just APA, but APA's parents are a perfect example of how like supportive your family can be when you're pursuing a dream, and it's just a great thing to see.
Yeah, I love seeing this.
I actually have a lot of talks with Stacy, as well as I believe his name is Canes. That's the username he has, and they're always so supportive. They're always chatting me up about Ian, and gotta love it. I absolutely adored seeing that support. What can you really say there? Great thing for the ecosystem. It's a great thing seeing the support coming through, but I want to take it away from that and over towards a different direction, which is going to be the hairlines experienced from yesterday. Cubby pulling at his hair, seeing the results of what we had between IMT and Wildcard.
He earned that tweet, if we're being honest. It must have been really painful for him to watch that.
Yeah, as someone not directly involved in that game, I'm happy to see the chaos, but...
If you want to see the chaos a little bit closer, we do have a video for you giving a quick replay of what just happened yesterday with Wildcard. They were absolutely kind of nutty on the day, completely transcended expectations. Yeah, someone in particular with one of those pocket picks coming through. Garen going to be on the Rift. And that is... I can't put it any other way. Can we just see the footage? Can we bring it up?
Please.
Okay, bound Zach, believe Garen up, and let's see what happens.
Prove yourself and charge! Make them remember you. Push to heaven. Charge!
With emo, a thumbs up for the performance of Moose Hater! Ira, lead us. What just happened?
Thoughts?
They failed the test. When you face Moose Hater, I tweeted about it. There's a very... Oh shit, the lights turned off in here. There's a very simple test you have when you face Moose Hater, and it's the banned Garen test. He's still good on his other champions. He showed it with Zach, but they failed the test. they don't get a passing grade on that game. You left Garen up, and you got absolutely owned for it. So
Now that's what happens. You leave that Garen up. Haters got some spicy picks, and unfortunately ADD had some antlers. Let's take a look at the standings after that last day of play, because, well, some teams already getting their dubs in. Few 2-0s going through, but our provisional teams swinging quite well.
I think that's the thing we love to see as well, because the thing we've been trying to push over the weekend and are going to continue to talk about is that with this format being single elimination and the provisional team specifically looking to avoid relegation, getting these wins versus challenger teams who are obviously going to be your tougher matchups is so phenomenal for their chances of, placing well and avoiding relegation.
And with that, we do have some matches on the day to further standings, and the first match that we're going to have is going to be Team Liquid versus Dignitas, followed up by Cincinnati Fear and CLG Faith, one I know you're going to want to watch, Myra, as well as 100 Thieves Challengers and IMT Challengers. That will be the final match of the day, but let's take a look at that first one. TSM versus Dignitas. See the rosters coming up right here. TSM Challengers. A lot of very old school talent here, Myra.
yeah, no, it's really sick to see some of these players back. I mean, when I started first playing and watching League back in Season 3, like, Wild Turtle was a big name back then, and, watching the game through the years, seeing since Fairman and Hanser, it's really cool to see them back. It'll be interesting to see what they do compared to their previous form, but, it's a good opportunity for them to prove they still got the hands and they still got it.
Yeah, this was honestly one of my favorite rosters back in the day. It was the last roster of TSM back in 2017 that I loved the most. The one with Wild Turtle, Hanser, Svenskeren, Eriksson, and we're going to see a few clips of that. The main point here is this is a championship. These are 3 championship players who have won multiple titles.
Yeah, and honestly, it's an interesting thing, too, when you look at the rest of this lineup and who they are surrounding, in particularly Doxa and Drag2. So you have these incredibly experienced players, like you said, championship-winning players who have spent a lot of time performing well in the LCS. You bring a lot of experience to the team, and I think when we look at Tier 2 and everything like that, you look to see the best way to kind of surround experienced talent by less experienced talent to give them the best environment to grow.
But they will be up against Dignitas Challengers, and a few of these members did get pretty far last Proving Grounds. I mean, Insanity suddenly went Super Saiyan, came out of the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, showed up in Proving Grounds, and just slaughtered a lot of the competition, take Dignitas to a second place. How are you feeling about this team, Myra?
I think this is a pretty well put together team overall. XU had a lot of good experiences last year getting to sub up into LCS. Should be able to bring that into the split. You have a really solid bot lane in Tomo and Diamond. Insanity obviously proved himself as well. I think Hoon had some question marks last year, but he also showed some good promise. So I think overall this is a pretty well put together team. I think they should be competing for that top 6 or so spots in the league. So it will be exciting to see how they square up against some of those super experienced players on TSM.
Absolutely, and I mean, you look at even with both Hoon and XU, the circumstances in which they moved up to the LCS weren't the best as well. So you're hoping, especially in Hoon's case, he's going to get that opportunity to prove himself. And I think the same could be said for Insanity, a player who, the moment he did not make it back into the LCS after I believe it was 2021, he immediately joined what was called amateur at the time, where even, yes, it was with an LCS affiliated team, but I still think it speaks a lot to a player who doesn't make it to the highest level, literally just ready to grind it out to make it back there.
And that grind, I mean, all the credit in the world, because now we're seeing a lot of these more veteran players, just like we had last year with Dokla, really starting to shine out once again and really starting to get their second win. Taking a look at some of the plays that Dignitas were able to make, I feel that so passionately about Insanity, someone who I've watched back in his Team Liquid days. That's when I started casting Academy. To see him now in 2023 performing as well as he is, it's a joy to see.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I imagine it's going to keep going. I mean, getting to talk to Insanity a little bit before today, I think it was yesterday, I got to message him a little bit. He's talking about how, I mean, his goals are still the same. He's trying to prove that he can make it back to the LCS, trying to improve on his consistency. And I think the playoffs of Proving Grounds last year were showing that he is well on his way to making that goal.
As both of these teams face off, where are you going to put your attention, Myra? Where do you think the power is going to be for both of these teams?
I'm really looking towards the mid lane matchup. I think Doxa and Sandy is super exciting. I think TSM has a huge advantage in terms of experience, so it'll be interesting to see what Svenskeren can do to work with Doxa in the 2v2, but mid lane's where I'm putting my attention for this game.
I mean, that mid lane matchup, personally, I'm a big Doxa fan. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. 2021, Winthrop, I love that entire run they did in CLOL. Seeing Doxa in TSM warms my heart, but seeing Doxa alongside such veteran experience that he can actually learn and grow from makes it even better for me.
Yeah, I'm a big Doxa fan as well. Like, for years been saying this guy's so good. I've hyped him up on Twitter a bunch. You know, putting him around some vets should be really good for him. So I hope he can showcase it in this game, in this split. But he is up for a big challenge, and Sandy is pretty good in his own.
100%.
And there, got our votes coming in, and so far it seems like Twitch chat's pretty in favor of TSM challenges. We got to get more votes coming in for Dig.
Wow, I'm a little surprised. I mean, I kind of agree with Myra where I'm leaning a little towards TSM, at least this early on, because of how much experience they have. But I figured some people would go for Dig challenges. We don't like Insanity. We don't like Tomo Diamond. Come on, guys. Okay,
there we go.
There we go. I see an update. Okay, that's more like it, chat.
Okay, you got to remember, TSM is the fan team, right? No matter where you go, you can be in LEC and you'll start hearing TSM chants, and you have the fan roster now.
Yeah, fair, especially if you've been like a long-time TSM fan. Surely you know who all of these players are. But still, I'm holding out hope for Dig. You see it start to even out.
Yeah, I personally honestly think it's a little Dig favored, but TSM has the pieces to take this to them. It really will just come down to how they utilize their experience, especially in mid to late, and if they can transition that into good decision making and stability in those late game team fights and pull it out for the victory.
All right, Myra, any last statements before we head into the first draft of the game?
I mean, I'm just super excited to see what happens. I think Doxa has a really exciting champ pool, so hopefully you can pull out some of those things. I mean, I'm always a fan of watching his Akali, so if I had to hope for something, I'd love to see that. Give me a skill matchup in the mid lane, and Sandy's good at it too, so I'm hoping for that.
I'm hoping for it as well, but on that note, it is about time to head into the Rift. But, ooh, take a look at that. The votes now starting to swing a little bit more into Dignitas. We're getting more lively here, but the draft is about to be ready, so I'm prepared for the game. Beatdown, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling excellent, SRX. I'm so glad you asked me. Any second now, we're going to be going into Champ Select, and I couldn't be more excited.
All right, so we will part ways with Myra. Myra, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you right after the game. But for now, TSM Challengers versus Dignitas. And as we get into this... There we go. We're all set. We're all settled. What are you expecting to see in the draft? We have what some people are kind of starting to consider a little bit more stale meta. People have been predicting pretty much the entirety of the draft for a lot of the games we've seen in other competitive regions. But this is NACL, and we had Garen yesterday Beatdown. Can we get a curveball today?
To be fair, I don't think we're ever going to get a curveball like that unless Moose Hater himself is in the game, because who knows what else kind of pocket pick he has in his back pocket. But with these two teams, I have a feeling things are going to be a little more standard. Now it's interesting because we're seeing Maokai taken away. I think that was up and grabbed a lot in yesterday's games, and he's actually very popular in many other regions of pro play as well.
Maokai has been one of those bigger picks to see go through. Cubby, especially yesterday, was arguing that you cannot let this champion through the draft. And the final ban right now is going to be Yuumi. We'll see what's left on the table right now. As we said, the TSM Challengers roster, very, very experienced. Even in some of their lesser experienced players, like Doxa, won a CLOL championship. Draku, who's not here, Chime currently subbing in, was able to get to the LCO finals multiple times. So they do have some competitive experience onto that, and pretty much all around this roster. We'll fix what's going on with the team tags in just a second, but first pick coming in is going to be the Rise.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just one of the strongest, if not strongest, picks on the patch, so it's not very surprising. Sejuani is interesting because she's popping up in priority here, and I was curious to see if Zeri would pop up even without the Yuumi. I mean, there's still the option to grab yourself the Lulu, so it's looking like we're gonna have basically that same bot lane matchup that everyone's predicting, but this time around, you see it's gonna be Zeri, Yuumi. You're gonna see most likely the Nami come through, and it's just, I mean, you know, that's kind of what we're at right now. You can't fool me. You're picking Nami. Come on. Yeah, see, there it is.
All right, so we're going to get Wild Turtle and Chime on Nami Lucian in the bottom lane. It's a lane that plays rather aggressive, and this has kind of been the handshake that I've been seeing at least a little bit more often. It's been that Zeri and Lucian matchup going on in bottom.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it goes. And at this point, for TSM Challengers, jungle hasn't been picked for Dignitas, so you're trying to remove options for XU early game junglers so you can affect lanes. You're seeing the Wukong taken away. You might see another hit into XU's champ pool into the jungle, where they may look to go elsewhere.
Head into the second phase of the draft now. Only one solo lane picked up by Dignitas. There is some flexibility you can do with this Rise.
A little.
But we'll see what they decide to try and flex around with. First ban's coming in for TSM Challengers. They're going to take away the Wukong, going after the jungle. Dignitas attacking the Renekton. Not going to allow Hanser to play that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember back when he was playing in Academy, I think maybe last year or the year before, that was a pick he would just run people over with. So it makes sense that you don't want to put Hoon through that experience. And I'm interested to see if we see another mid ban. The only real thing I've seen manage to contest Rise so far is the Cassiopeia, which we know like historically is a pretty good matchup. So I'm interested to see if Dig Challengers will knock that out of the pool, because I'm pretty certain that Doxa does play that champion and had played it during his CLOL win in 2020.
It really leaves a lot of questions in solo lanes, not just for Doxa, but for Hanser as well.
True.
And what form Hanser is going to be in performing here, because we showed clips of 2017 TSM,
yeah,
and Hanser was the big carry back then, was a big powerhouse, but look at this pick coming in for Doxa. Kassadin locked in B.
All right, so you're really all inning for the later parts of the game here. I mean, like, we know Kassadin, Castlewin, especially basically just shot up in stonks immediately once the Seraph's change came through and it got buffed all to high heaven. And now, even though things early on, you're not going to have really any semblance of mid priority into something like the Rise, but it's still something you can be happy about getting into the later game, especially if your Lucian Nami doesn't pop off like you're hoping.
And Cassante has been a champion that, you know, brand new.
Good champ.
Right out of the box. Feels great. Feels absolutely great to see, especially some of the plays you can make and the outplays you can make. Typically, we've seen handshake matchups over with Cassante in the top lane. And the top lane's the last pick coming out from TSM Challengers. Hanser will have his pick of the litter for the counter, but XU onto the
there it is.
Beat.
That's pretty crazy, because I mean, like, that's like XU signature champ. Rafa will always talk about it. He loves this player so much, especially when he brings out the Lee Sin. And I mean, we talked about early game junglers being able to impact lanes so that you can have that influence over the map. I mean, that's just a perfect example right there.
So Jax is something I've been seeing pop up more and more. I've yet to really like investigate as to why. I thought it was going to be an off pick from yesterday, but no, this is really starting to pop up more. And Hanser will be playing that into the Cassante. I'm not too familiar with that matchup. B, do you know anything about it?
I mean, I haven't seen it play out just yet, but you got to imagine with how strong a position Jax is at the moment. I feel like he does really well into a lot of AD matchups in the top lane. So we'll see how that one in particular plays out. We talked about how Hoon has this opportunity to prove himself once again. And I mean, what better opportunity against a previously very high-performing LCS top laner?
I'm kind of excited about this mid lane matchup that Myra was alluding to earlier.
True.
You know, she was talking about the hype that we have in Doxa, you know, his run throughout the amateur space, EGP, collegiate space, Winthrop. Going into someone as experienced as Insanity, though, this is going to be a good testing moment for Doxa.
100%. And I mean, that's the big thing too, is we look at this TSM Challengers roster, and Doxa was one of the newest additions. Like, we all know, if you've been keeping an eye on the scene, how this ended up coming to be, and he ends up getting brought up. He was a part of this org as their TSM amateur roster in 2021 in summer, and now he has a chance to work with the org again, and again, surrounded by all these veterans. This opportunity for him to grow as a player. It kind of starts here because it's his first series of NACL.
But again, up against Insanity, that class of 2022 100X alumni, demoted from Academy, fought his way back in amateur and looked great doing it.
That's right.
Second place in Proving Grounds last split. The tough task for Doxa as we hit the Rift now for our first game of the day.
There it is. And so far, there's a little bit of early vision coming through here in the topside jungle. No spicy level ones, nothing cheeky at the moment here. And I think at this point, I'm kind of pretty excited to see XU on his Lee Sin. I mean, even back when Cloud9 had their amateur team, that was such an exciting thing to watch him play. I remember casting, I think it was in 2021, the Risen finals, and it was just a crazy thing to see, like the things this guy was able to do. And now he's a player we talk about having, a lot of volatility, goes for a lot of flips. We're hoping he can kind of improve on his consistency this year.
And what a champion to do it on. I mean, it's Lee Sin.
Yeah.
This is the king of volatile plays. I mean, XU will... what was more common from XU last year was how much it's a party from top to bot. CLG
Love
win.
that.
Not yet, CLG. Wait your turn. Wait your turn. I know TSM's on and you want to flame them a little bit. It's the old El Clasico rivalry. Not yet, CLG. Don't you worry. What was I saying? Saying insanity. Not
yeah,
insanity.
there you go.
XU. There we go.
You're
Coming
doing
back
great.
onto it. No, XU was one of the more, as you were saying, coin flippy players, right? In playoffs, it was a lot of these big plays that were very high risk but high reward, and Lee Sin plays to that play style so much more. Look at this coming out from Tomo and Diamond going hard aggressive on the Chime.
Yeah, you can see they're both trying to fight for the level 2, and at this point, Wild Turtle, Chime have to respect the XP difference and just back right off. And I mean, this bot lane is a really interesting one as well. They've been playing together for years, back on FlyQuest Challengers for the last couple of years, and now on this new team. I think, one, it's great that they have all this experience working together, but also Diamond's a player who brings a lot of leadership to these kinds of teams. And okay, here's the flip we're talking about.
Oh, going right after that veteran in XU, Svenskeren, excuse me, as XU hopping right on this invade. Again, early aggressive plays is what XU likes to do. When he's on this Lee Sin, he's in home.
And this is kind of what you have to expect as Svenskeren, just because of the fact that, I mean, you have bot lane that's pushing, we have mid, who we know from the jump is going to be pushing at these early minutes. Means that Svenskeren, he's just going to have to eat these for the moment here and see what he's going to be able to get a little later on. I don't see a dive angle coming through. It's just going to be take the blue buff and see you later. Unless...
Oh, it might be. It might. Nope.
No.
Let's get Scuttle Crab. Let's get Scuttle. Calm down, XE. Don't worry.
There it
You
is,
can
there
press
it
the
is.
gas pedal a little bit later.
Yeah.
A lot of people had some criticisms about this TSM roster with Monsters and Scare and Wild Turtle. I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of those criticisms aren't really that true. They're not really something that should be focused on too much.
Yeah.
Hold that thought, though, because XU in the mid lane route comes through onto
3-6
Doxa, looking to
Cassidy.
try and take him down.
Oh,
Going
they
for the
got him.
pre-6 kill. Magic Shield does come up, though. Doxa will survive. 200 health remains.
Yeah, it's great. This is the pressure you want to be putting on a pick like Kassadin, so he doesn't have an easy time in lane, doesn't get to scale up to be that level 16 monster, especially in levels of play like this. But Flash is blown. We'll see if XU punishes that in the coming minutes, because that's where you really want to take advantage of early plays like that.
I was saying, though, even though this is a very experienced and veteran roster, this isn't just them trying to step into a retirement home.
True.
You know, a lot of people have been trying to say that because Old Academy did kind of feel like that. 2019, we didn't have as much support. Now in NECL, this has been a very real place for people to grow. And Tomo trying to find a pick on a Wild Turtle. Close exchange coming through as the heals get burned.
A lot of combat summoners used. I like the aggression we're seeing from this bot lane in the 2v2. I mean, Myra said it when we were on the desk too. Tomo Diamond, solid bot lane. Excited to see how they're going to develop into this year, because I mean, at this point, especially looking at Tomo, we're going to see how he's going to be able to perform on this more experienced roster. And speaking of experience, I really do want to hit that TSM point you've been talking about, Eric. And it's true. You see Hanser, Svenskeren, and Wild Turtle, and you're thinking retirement home. I think that's the common thought. But I think we really should give a fair chance to these players. Just to that, like, look, they're here to play. I mean, you look at Hanser, he's been maintaining high elo even despite his break from competitive. I'm talking like really high elo in Challenger. So I think we give them a fair chance to split, see how they're going to develop, see how this TSM roster performs.
Yeah, I had a talk with Svenskeren, and I asked him, like, what are your goals? What are you looking to get out of NACL? And he was just straight with me. I'm going back to LCS. I want to get back there. I want to... Ooh, Hanser wants to get back there as well. The whole crew wants to fight their way back up the ladder, and Hanser will get first blood on a solo kill.
There it is. They all want to go back to the LCS, and you heard it, Eric. Now, oh, hold on. Something might be happening here.
All right. Engage onto Doxa. Bubble coming out. Chime and Svenskeren setting up the trap. Diamond will put in that glitter lance, get some damage in, get some slows in, but Insanity, one more auto could take him down, and Chime will deliver it. It's gonna be a trade though. Doxa does fall. XU trying to get the outplay, gets caught by the bubble, but he pops Svenskeren in the process, and now it's gonna be sushi for breakfast. You missed the Sonic Wave. It's all right. It's not needed. Cripple XU taking 3 in the mid.
Wow, so that ends up being so good for Dignitas, and it's so crazy because that was a wonderful read from TSM, understanding that Flash is down for Cassadin. They are going to punish this even after he hits that level 6, but they weren't able to actually make that play work out for them, and they ended up losing so much in the process, and they're also going to lose out on this first dragon.
First Drake going down for Dignitas. XU, once the early plays start swinging his way, this is where we got to start worrying. Let's take a look at what happened in this top side beat. We had a solo kill in the 1v1.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a brutal one. You want that wave in so badly as Hoon, but he overstepped himself just a little bit here, especially when you don't have Flash. He used the Ghost to try and kite it out, try and get away, but it wasn't going to work for him. But this is the thing to really work for here. Not only did they be able to play, the vision they set up gave them the timing for it. So Doxa walks up looking like juicy bait as they intended, and it looked so good for the moment here. But the thing is, I mean, a lot of summoner spells were available. Insanity still managed to get a good amount of damage off before finally going down. And at this point, I mean, we talk about early game Lee Sin, XU especially, weaving in that Sonic Strike. Ooh.
And there's a world where TSM went out on that play if Svenskeren can get the permafrost in time. If that bubble comes out a second earlier, you know, TSM do win out, but XU played the game just a bit better this time, and that's going to give Dignitas a lead. And it's coming from XU, who can snowball this game quickly.
Oh, hello.
Now Insanity is looking for a snowball, going over towards the bottom lane, trying to take down Chime. The chain of CC is brutal. So is the damage, and Wild Turtle trying to head for the hills, forced to burn Flash.
And the target selection is perfect. You know, Chime blew his Flash in that play just moments ago, Eric, and they take advantage. That's another kill into Dignitas Challenger's pocket, and it's on Tomo on the Zeri, who's going to be a problem later on into the game. And it's worth noting, too, Doxa did lose out a little bit on Golden XP on that play that happened earlier. So for a champion, really depending on the scaling, you're slowing him down a lot, which is what Dig want.
I want to ask you right now, while this Rift Herald gets taken, mid-jungle duos, beatdown, where would you rank XU and Insanity on your list?
I'm not going to give you a hard number, but I would rate them pretty highly, just because of the fact that XU performed, I think, well at this level, and definitely in his time below it earlier on. And I think Insanity has just proven that he is a player you need to watch out for. He was great in Amateur last year, and was doing great during Proving Grounds.
But now we got to look at top jungle duos. Dragon's Rage coming out from XU. It's a little bit too late. Your top laner already died. Hanser for the chase. Can't get the permafrost to stun up XU. Seems like TSM are getting some leads on this top side, and you know how much of a menace Jax can be when he gets fed.
Yeah, and it's looking like Hanser is building his way up to be that menace. You see it. Rift Herald was just picked up there by Svenskeren moments ago. We saw it happen on screen, and now, although they may not be able to get the turret, especially because Insanity and XU are moving up, they managed to get some turret plays. And they decided to hold on to the Rift Herald. Maybe want to wait until they can guarantee themselves first brick and back home.
Oh, there's no flash for Wild Turtle. Tomo going hard onto this one. Will not get the pick off onto Wild Turtle. Does get the heal out of Chime in that exchange, but Dignitas' bot lane, I mean, that's a lot of experience you do have on Tomo and Diamond, trying to match a rather experienced bot lane in Wild Turtle Chime.
And honestly, speaking of experience, Diamond, level 6 before Chime, because of that play, they took advantage of it. You can get the kill. Oh, wait a minute.
I'm sorry. There's a little bit more veterancy on Wild Turtle beatdown.
It happens. You get hit by the bubble, and it's just crazy how quickly Lucian Nami can take you off the Rift. Really nice play coming through Wild Turtle and Chime.
I mean, serrated Dirk start coming out from Wild Turtle as well, so that damage, you feel it. You feel it. That ultimate being down means that Dignitas might look to lay prey into this bottom lane, since Garen is over here waiting in the wings. Will spot out that ward, gets caught out by the Sonic Wave. Over the wall he goes with the Arctic Assault, and the recall's called by TSM's bot.
And I'm loving this game from Insanity here. He is so active on the map, taking advantage of every opportunity he's got. He's moving bot. He's moving top to cover and do whatever he can. And you can see it. He's not really falling any reasonable... he's not falling behind in any reasonable measurable. As you can see, he's down, 2 CS coming into this next wave. And he has so much assist gold as well. He probably has a lead on Doxa right now.
Curious to see what the gold actually is between the mid laners. Quite a few assists. Let's take a look. Just about 100 gold onto Doxa, so not too bad for Insanity. A lot of that just being really assist carried. Where else should we focus here? I'm looking at that top side. Haunter has picked up quite the lead, and they're looking to expand it right now, Beat.
Yeah, and it just gets harder. It's looking like Svenskeren makes another appearance to the top side, does pass a pink ward. So they are aware. Are we going to see the first move from Doxa since this game started? Again, playing the Kassadin. You know, now level 9, he's got some experience on them. You're waiting till level 11 before he can really start to have that impact you want. And you can just tell that Dignitas have been taking advantage of, I mean, that timer. Look at what they've been able to do all across the map.
A lot of vision in the bottom side coming out from TSM, however, who are trying to protect themselves over there because Dignitas have made active plays to try and thwart this bottom lane. Yeah. Dignitas are still basically letting XU kind of just run the map and decide what to do from here.
Yeah, I mean, one of your big win cons is the Zeri in Tomo. Ensuring that you can get him ahead, keep him there, is really imperative, I think, for Dignitas Challengers, and they've been playing like it so far. They managed to get the first Drake. They're in a great position to get another. Look at this wave that Insanity has pushed in here. Yeah, you know, some trades come through, but realistically, mid is still in such a great position here. And Svenskeren is running out of time. You just saw that animation. The Rift Herald is going to go away soon. He has to drop it mid.
He's trying to focus onto the mid lane, but XU is there. Fight going to begin. Rift Herald over the wall. Chain onto Doxa. Only a bit of damage going through. No one really willing to commit. It does cash in on those turret plates. So something's still going to be found for TSM, but Dignitas want more. Sonic Wave goes out. Lands, waiting for the resonating strike onto Doxa. Pulls him in even deeper. Dragon's Rage. It lands on Svenskeren. Not getting too much out, but does burn out the ultimate of Svenskeren. Yes. And that's a big tool that's down for TSM.
That's the big thing. And oh, they might be looking for more with the Realm Warp.
Oh, big Realm Orb coming through. Flash away. Chime trying to get to safety. Doesn't want to die to Insanity. Wild Turtle firing back, and the rest of TSM starting to reconvene as a team. Doxa and Svenskeren, they don't have the tools they need, though. Those ultimates were burnt in the last skirmish.
Everyone who showed up to this play, save for Doxa, used their ultimate, so no major impacting team fight abilities coming through here. But now, Scrying Orb is going to reveal Dragon is in play. With your top laner so far away from this, I think you're actually going to be letting this one go. Walk away, catch this mid wave, and just kind of move on to the next play. It's worth noting, Chime, Blue Flash, something they took advantage of minutes before, something they could very well do again. And okay, we have the Hex Gate Rift. That means we have a lot more fun plays available to us here. A lot of nice flank angles, which is what I love about this Rift.
Hexgate with Kassadin and Ryze on the map, as if there wasn't enough mobility already.
No, I want more. Right now.
TSM, a nice little response they did over there. You saw if they called Haunter to the mid lane just to make sure they had absolute control of that dragon. That still does give Hoon a little bit of free farming time onto that top side. I didn't see if Hoon was able to get any plates off of that. Did you catch that, Beat?
No, I don't think he did. He shoved the wave and then went for a recall, it looks like, and just managed to spend his gold. Now he has his mythic coming through. Yeah, his frozen fist. So now, I mean,
always called that.
Yeah, is not its actual name.
The original name was Iceborne Gauntlet back in the day, and then everyone started calling it Frozen Fist, so the meme just stuck.
Really?
Okay, here we go. Engage coming through, looking for the Dragon's Rage on his Svenskeren, but XU's running low. So is XU, half health now as Tomo pops away. So does Wild Turtle. Doxa has arrived. Doxa has the damage, and it's coming in big. Doxa rift forward. XU with the Dragon's Rage kick away. Doxa now trying to run, but taken down is going to be Wild Turtle. XU with the flip, with the return. Haunter arriving to the fight will get the stun onto Tomo. Tomo nowhere to run. The bonk landing from Haunter. And TSM trade 2 for 1.
Tomo going a little bit too deep there, but ultimately it was a nice play coming through from XU. The fact that he managed to live is crazy, but this favoring TSM means they're going to be able to get that second Rift Herald. It should be really easy for them to knock down this mid outer turret. And I think we're finally starting to see Doxa come online here. Roa has been stacking for minutes already, and you see it when he teleports in, the damage he was able to do to an already, I will say, tenderized Dignitas.
See right there, XU was trying to get that Dragon's Rage kick before the polymorph came through. But I think that ended up working to the benefit of XU because it meant you had it later for Doxa, who jumps forward here.
Right, and you can see it, the damage coming through from the Kassadin, from Wild Turtle.
Damn.
You can see the damage, the confidence coming through, but immediately the turn was looking good. The summoners were coming out from members of TSM, but it's this moment right here where I think they took a little more than they really needed to. You see it, the leap strike into immediate flash from Hanser was really nice to make sure you get on the Zeri, and with the E expended, there's no getting out.
It's the leap bonk.
The leap bonk, I'm so sorry.
We established this yesterday when it was still Academy. Last split when it was still Academy. The legend of the bonk is how we refer to this Jax.
And I mean,
I believe it's 3-0.
I mean, we were talking about it, giving these players a chance on TSM's side, the more experienced players, to prove that they want to make it back to LCS side, man. Wild Turtle really wants to get back, really badly.
That's classic Wild Turtle right there, to say the least. Wild Turtle is just jumping forward. I mean, Gale Force was pretty much made for this dude to continue doing Tristana plays on any other champion he can play.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Gale Force, I think, just was the perfect item for him, it turns out. And you can see now, TSM Challenger have really started to turn the advantage in this game to their favor. They got a gold lead, to be fair. A good chunk of it is very likely to be Hanser, with his 3-0, and nice bouncy coming through here. And now, seeing the Herald drop, it's probably going to get the charge through. We'll see if anything more happens. You have basically the whole team Sans mid laner is moving up.
And that's great from TSM, because look at how they're positioning right now. It was just to take the tower and instantly leave. They didn't go for more. They're not overextending. They have that call back, except for Wild Turtle, who just wants to fight. Jumping onto Insanity over there. Wild Turtle, this is going to be one of the more fun players to watch in NACL.
Absolutely. I'm already seeing it. TSM Challenger again. They have this advantage with that top outer turret on, meaning Hanser has more opportunities to be able to move across the map. And we saw what happens. He shows up to these situations, and he's a problem right now on this Jax at 3-0. And it only gets more difficult, Eric, as time goes on, because you're looking at Kassadin. Like, once you get to level 11, you're actually feeling like a champion. Once that Roa is stacked, you're already putting out some crazy damage into champions like Zeri and Lulu. So now the bot lane of Dignitas have to be very careful in these team fights. You have so many threats to be worrying about here. You got Jax, you got Sejuani, and you have Kassadin all looking to get right on top of you.
This is a side lane nightmare for Dignitas. If Hanser and Doxa are able to snowball even more than they are right now, that's pretty much lights out for Dignitas. If you try and respond to them in a side lane, Doxa can just show up and kill your side laner, so can Hanser, and they can even they both have teleport to that extent. So far, it's a strong game plan coming out for the early of TSM. Even with some of these skirmishes going awry, I mean, they have things going into their hands.
Right, I mean, all they really need to do in these situations is you bide your time, you don't give away too much, you try to minimize losses in these situations where you don't have as much agency in the early game, and so far, you can see they've done a pretty good job at doing exactly that, minus, you know, a few minor hiccups. And now they find themselves in a game state that is, honestly, they can be decently happy about. They still have their mid and bot turret up ready to go. And I think they want to defend this mid turret especially so they can keep this vision line from Dignitas from extending too far on their side.
Dignitas setting up early on this side of the map. No real objective to fight over. It does appear that they're trying to set up at least some sort of side lane play since Garen's already nearby Doxa, so Dignitas aren't going to find too much here. Now, for Doxa, the more fed he gets, the more excited I personally get, because Doxa has been one of those more consistent players where if you set him up for success and you put him in certain positions, he can absolutely take over a game.
Absolutely, and that's a player who I'm really excited to see how he plays at this level, because he's a player. Oh, that's he's a player who we all thought is quite good, especially at the level of play we've seen him at, and we all wondered when he was going to get his shot, and this may not be the circumstances that he's hoping for, but you know he's excited to be able to prove himself and see how he's going to be able to match up against other mids here in this tournament, because I mean, solo lanes in general in this tournament, honestly pretty stacked.
And B, this was a very last-second change for TSM.
Yes.
You know, they had to pick him up. For those of you who don't know, he moved to Vancouver to get closer to the pain.
Tell him where he's sleeping.
Yeah. And he's sleeping with Saskia, one of his old teammates, in his basement. He's committed.
He is. I mean, get close to the server. We saw how that's a problem for TLF yesterday with City Witty and his inhumane, if I'm being honest, level of ping that he had to deal with. And there it is. Like, that just shows the commitment that Doxa has to this game and improving so that he can make LCS.
All right, but Doxa's kind of being introduced to Cassante right now. That was very anti-fun that you just saw. Cassante just takes your turn and all you can do is watch.
Yeah. I mean, you're the rest of your team's on the other side of the map. A lot of people are off. So you're like, am I getting jumped on right now? Is the whole of Dignitas Challengers here on me? You got to be careful of these things. Speaking of careful...
Speaking of jumps, that's what you want to say right now. Is Insanity going for the run, waiting for the leap strike cooldown? It is found. 3 members are there. Wild Growth coming out onto Insanity, looking to hop over the wall with the leap strike onto Svenskeren. He gets there to safety. Tomo will start popping away. Teleport coming through. Hoon has arrived. Dread shine back. Tidal Wave going through. Only lands on the 2. Wild Turtle with the calling. Gets Hoon low. Baron attacking Hanser. They have to get away from there. Losing too much health will be TSM, but Dignitas won't commit.
And it was such a good angle. They were so close to getting Hanser, but in the end, it is Jack's leap strike. Great ability. No bonk, but he holds on to his flash. So I think you're really happy about that one. Dig pushed so that they would be able to try and get a pick. Because if you take someone out like Hanser, you have a good chance at going for the Baron here. But alas, it was not available to them. And they have to start thinking about this next dragon here. We're still 2 minutes out, but this Soul Hex Tech, very powerful in terms of output, damage output, and everything it gives once you pick up that soul. And it's going to be soul point for TSM Challengers if they manage to get the next one. So how are they going to set up for it?
They got 1 minute and 25 before they do have to at least try and start getting into that area. Not really. It doesn't seem to really be a priority at the moment, as they are focused a little bit more on this topside beat.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want to be doing for the most part. You want to get this top wave in as much as you can, and then I mean, with Hoon not having teleport, it does mean he's going to have to probably back a little sooner so he can make it in time. But that's why you see Dig on this side of the map. They want to make sure that he doesn't get collapsed on, he being Hoon. And now, wait a second.
It's an engage onto Svenskeren, but a tall task to take down that tanky of a member. And Wild Turtle really bringing the damage to Tomo. Dox is there, so is Chime. Chime doesn't have Tidal Wave. Ultimates or engagements are down for TSM, so they cannot continue the chase.
So I think the thing, they're just going to go ahead and start the Baron. They know recalls have to come through, so they're going to force them into this situation here. And look at Doxa on the map. He's on there. He's going to get spotted on the ward, but that flank angle is going to be such a big deal here. Look at Tomo. He is half health.
Tomo and XU both at half health. Hoon missing a little bit.
They're just going to leave.
It's your favorite map, Pete.
Yeah, it's great. But I like this play too. They managed to do it and get away because look what it did for them, Eric. At the end of the day, you have to stay on the map now because they have to contest this Drake. And you can see it now. They're just walking their way towards the bottom side of the map. And Wild Turtle continuing to put out all this damage to make sure the fight that is inevitable is just going to be that much more in favor of TSM. And if they get the Dragon but lose too many members, TSM are fine with that. They can go ahead and take the Baron. So these next few seconds is going to be so important for Dig.
Ultimate's going to come up right now for Svenskeren, so this might be an engage onto XU. It lands. Tidal Wave only hitting 3, but it gives a choke point onto Insanity. Insanity brings the damage back. Flashes after Wild Turtle. Now has to deal with the rest of TSM. The slows, the stuns, they're all there, but Insanity still lives. Doxa will finally drop him. Hanser can't get the counter-strike onto Hoon. Doxa still with the chase. XU down a man. Not willing to take that resonating strike. But TSM, look at the health bars. They might not be able to still pressure beat.
It's worth noting, Tomo has the lightning crash. There is a world in which this is playable, especially for Hoon, who also has his ultimate available. So you can see the posturing coming through here. They're looking for a pick. That's what you need for Dignitas. You cannot just start this dragon, and it's looking like TSM understand that. They're just going to go ahead and concede.
And just like that, Dignitas, they lose the team fight, but they still chase TSM away. They got enough damage done where it's too much of a risk. That will delay that late game win condition even more.
I think that for Dig is your best case scenario. You trade Insanity for the Drake because one, TSM not in a great position to go ahead and start the Baron, and Dignitas, they managed to prevent the soul point. So now we're at 2 dragons apiece. Doxa
You believe he was
he must have thought he was getting like giga collapsed on. I mean, better safe than sorry. I don't think it's actually known by Dig that happened, unless they happen to be looking in TSM's face. So, be how it do.
Be how it do.
Yeah, it's all I got for you on that one, man. I'm sorry.
Whatever, it's Cassidy.
Yeah.
Your Rift Walk is basically teleport on a Hex Gate map.
There you go.
Here's about that cooldown, right? Be how it do.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I'm talking about, Eric. And now, the fact that Dig managed to get that dragon, kind of slow things down in terms of the soul win condition, means they can focus on, one, getting this mid turret down. It's 26 minutes, by the way, and trying to set up, or at least prevent, TSM from being able to take Baron. Because we could very well see an angle, especially with Haunter's teleport coming up very soon, where TSM try to force it while they have Haunter split.
How familiar are you with this matchup, Jackson to Cassante beat?
Not very much. My only, because Cassante in pro play has only started, last week?
Yeah.
We may have to hold that.
Yeah, Diamond might be caught out here. Another great Dragon's Rage has been stopping Doxa from getting deeper.
Haunter
Now
has to
Scared
walk.
trying to run away, but
5v4.
here we go! Ultimate out from Hoon. Tomo will pick up a kill in the name of Dignitas and priority over to the Baron, daring TSM to cross that line.
That timing was so perfect. Svenskeren not really respecting the fact that his top laner didn't quite have TP up, and there it is. We have the 5 versus 4.
Oh, tidal wave out. Ooh, it's a big cut coming through from TSM as Hanser in the middle of it all. Using the stopwatch now. Doxa gets closer. Ooh, more damage going through. 6k health remains on the Baron. Doxa has to back off. Will not
Seraphs.
eat the Sonic Wave. 4k health remains, but low health bars for TSM. Dignitas, they've got it. They got the Baron. They dare TSM, and they will not take it. A quick exit.
You love to see it, Eric. What a great comeback coming through here from Dig. And again, it was taking advantage of the fact that Haunter didn't have his teleport up. And I mean, he has it now, but what good does it do, TSM? Hopefully we get a replay of how that one turned out. But either way, this is Dignitas. They get the gold back into their pocket immediately from taking the Baron, and they have this opportunity to apply more pressures in the side lane. You give this ability to wave clear better. They should finally get this chance to knock down that mid outer turret, and that's going to give them an easier time setting up for Dragon in 2 minutes because, okay, you stalled TSM's whole point in the last one, but you're going to have to do it again.
And if you think side lane Cassante was a nightmare, let's look at side lane Cassante with a Baron buff now knocking at your door.
Side lane Rise, too.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yep. Every door is now forfeit. Your basement door, your attic door.
Your fridge door.
Fridge door. Now, let's see what position TSM look to take next, because we do have a minute and 50 seconds before we get that team fight timer going. Seems like they're going for a lot of poke damage. I mean, Wild Turtle hasn't been shy to throw that calling down. It's just hasn't really brought a team fight for TSM.
Right. Now, finally, Dignitas have got what they've been pushing for, I think, the last 8 or 9 minutes in particular, is that mid tier 1 turret. They aren't going to do much more. They're just going to clear out vision as best they can. And again, now they can really push this vision line forward and have a better chance of having a good setup for Dragon, because we know, even though they managed to narrowly get it last time, that is what almost hurt them.
Ooh, half health to XU. A lot of health lost to Insanity. Sidestepping from Svenskaren's ultimate. And Svenskeren getting low, has to flash away. Insanity now on the chase. The calling coming out, chipping away at XU. Health lost for both members of Dignitas. For all members of Dignitas, and now Hoon.
Oh, he's okay.
A bit of trouble right here. Haunter and Doxa walking on top of him. Dignitas going to send a few members in for a reset. Going to send the whole squad. 40 seconds until Dragon.
All right, so this is an interesting situation. Top lane is stacking, so you see Insanity walking there because he has to answer it very soon. He's the one with teleport here, and I'm kind of worried on how that setup is going to work. There's a lot of your upfront damage alongside Tomo on the Zeri, so it does mean that because of the recall especially, TSM have this opportunity. You can see it. Now they're starting to push the vision line a little bit, clearing out whatever Dignitas have placed and just making it harder for Dignitas to be able to contest this next break. But instead, you see Insanity pushes that one wave. It should slow push in their favor now. So he's immediately going to teleport mid. So they have this perfect chance to crash this wave and walk themselves to Dragon, because it has to be answered by TSM.
And this is starting to get terrifying for TSM. Look at what Dig have drafted. They have a Ryze and Zeri, which do so well in the late game. They got to make a play, and they're going to look to make it through Haunter, who's hopping in with the counter-strike, the stun. Chain of CC on the diamond will take him down. Able to go golden for a little bit. XU still trying to get the outplay. Doxa in the middle of it, all in the thick of it, will get kicked right on out. Svenskeren bails, but down to the ground. Dignitas will fall. Insanity slain. Hoon, the last survivor, will take one with him at the very least, getting caught by the permafrost as well as the leap strike. But Kasante's gonna walk away. TSM, they couldn't get that last member. They still get the team fight.
I mean, look, this is great for Hoon because he's just wasting all this time. It's going to make it harder for the Baron to be on the table for them here. Of course, the ace means Dragon does not go your way, and I think we really got to give props to Haunter in particular. That angle was perfect. Diamond gets taken out immediately, and that means no ultimate, no ability to save or peel for a teammate, and despite Hoon and XP's best efforts, it was just not nearly enough the second you lose your support.
Haunter flanks have always been so incredible, even in the old days of TSM, when we used to call it TSM when he was playing Maokai over in the top lane, but this time doing it on Jax.
That's a little unlucky too, because he kind of showed on vision. This is the thing with Hexgate, like at this point, it's new enough that these are the kind of flanks you have to be concerned about as teams, especially with someone like a Jax who can do this kind of insane setup for team fights. And as soon as Diamond was out of the picture, again, you see Hoon using that ultimate where you try to peel for his AD carry, which I like, but it doesn't matter. 5v4, you're not going to win.
So chasing out a few of those kills. How hard was Hoon to kill, though? I just got to throw that out there. It is a silver lining for Dignitas because he wasted a lot of time, as you said, B.
Yeah, so I think if he went down immediately, there's a world where TSM managed to Dragon and Baron, because these spawn timers are really starting to get long as we're past the 30-minute mark. So at least him wasting time did get that kind of minor reprieve, but look at the gold lead. Dignitas, with the Baron, with the turrets they were able to take, managed to get themselves, even if not a slight lead, and just like that, TSM have managed to swing it back in their favor. And look at Doxa. Level 17 Kassadin, Eric. Like this is as online as a champion like that can be. I agree, if we look at Ryze Zeri on Dignitas' side, you are pretty happy with your scaling on for Dignitas Challengers, but you still have to keep this Kassadin away from your AD carry, and Hoon has to keep doing what he's doing, basically playing anti-fun police for Doxa.
Not just Hoon, but XU and Diamond as well. They've been done a great job of peeling off all these threats that are jumping onto both Insanity and Tomo. Now, with that being called, this play coming out from TSM, they're getting control over on this top side where the Baron is. Here's when we might have a little dance on our hands beat down.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just about clearing vision and perhaps making a bush play. As you can see, they still have some blue wards on Dig's side, so it's not going to be that easy to catch them out. But this is like what you want to be happening overall. You can see at TSM, all their attention, pushing mid, pushing top. No one's even looking at that bottom wave, but someone is going to have to answer it soon. It's more than likely going to be Doxa, because at this point, you want to be able to get into the team fight at a moment's notice, because Dig are going to take their turn now and clear out vision in and around this Baron. They might try to force it.
You got to be faster than Dig can react. All it takes is one click from Diamond to make it that much harder, and one click from Svenskeren does not land on the money. Tomo getting low. Doxa looking for the chase, won't get onto him. Hoon on the back line will be able to find Wild Turtle. Hoon still doing a lot of work and absorbing so much damage, but TSM finally able to take down the raid boss. There's the stun onto Doxa, still alive, still okay, but XU looking to change that, gets the kick onto Doxa. Doxa looking for the rift walk over the wall, will be able to escape. XU back in. Haunter goes golden damage onto Dignitas. Svenskeren holding the line. Doxa trying to survive, but taken down by Tomo. 2 fallen by the wayside for TSM. 2 fallen by the wayside for Dignitas. Dignitas going to be the healthier and challenge for Baron.
And there it is, the 2 big damage dealers of Dignitas beat the side of TSM's. Doxa and Wild Turtle taken out of the picture, in part from some great peel and in part from some good play, especially from Insanity and Tomo, dodging all these crucial skill shots, and wow, they were taking down that Baron very quickly here. It's not going to be the opportunity they're looking for. Tomo, okay, that was actually really scary for him there, but he is going to be able to get the recall. This is a much-needed fight for Dignitas and that little bit of breathing room that you might be hoping for. And you can see it. It didn't happen quite on the map, but now look at the minimap. Doxa teleports in, wants the flank as you see they're trying to pressure. If Tomo doesn't dodge that Glacial Prison, he's done and this fight goes differently. But at this point, you have the wild growth, you have so much going in your favor, you have your top lane just full sending it into the back line and destroying the AD carry. And I think that ends up being the perfect trade, because at this point, now look at it. You can see it. Tomo is throwing out that damage, Insanity almost full health to the very end.
And Hoon has been an absolute menace, Beat. I mean,
Yeah!
he didn't really get, I feel like, the best shake during his LCS stage time. It felt like the circumstances weren't really aligned with him. Yep. But in this play, now being fresh at the very start of the season in NACL, tearing apart TSM's backside, it is brutal coming out of Hoon.
Dig's top laner jumps into your backline, takes your AD carry. What do? It's looking like TSM, they unfortunately crumble. And this is going to be another big test of that, because if Hoon's going to be able to do that once more, this could be a big soul denial here, because again, Hextech Soul on the line for TSM Challengers. This is something Dignitas cannot allow.
Scarin taking a lot of damage before the fight begins. Tidal Wave going out. Doxa going for the flank. So is Hanser right here. But staying together is going to be Dignitas. Doxa hops in, kicked away by XU.
Okay.
XU, an absolute beast, but here comes Hanser. Counter-Strike comes in.
He landed the Q.
Stun. Hanser still in. Goes golden. Buying time. Trying his best to survive, but Dignitas are surrounding him and bringing the pain. Wild Turtle on the run from Hoon. Hoon backs out. They're able to lock down onto Scarin. Doxa can do nothing. Will take one with them, but Dig are taking everything else. 3 fall for TSM. Dignitas onto the Drake.
Dignitas get everything they want in this fight, Eric, and that's going to be their soul point. Picked up. Wild Turtle can do nothing but bother Diamond like a fly as Dignitas are crawling their way back into this game. They were down about 5,000 gold, and now we're looking at less than 2. We're getting to this point, too, where the big carries, where the damage matters, is on par with the side of TSM. And now, at this point, it comes down to execution, and because mid, jungle, and top are done, Dig are going to execute the Baron.
Going right after it, and not a thing TSM could do. XU played so well into that game, not
great.
going for these kicks that are just to engage and pull people in. They're looking for engagers to ruin whatever flanks they're going for. XU has been phenomenal at that, and it's really showing for Dignitas.
And it's why it's a signature champion. Very comfortable, very good at playmaking. We saw that perfect example there. We're at a point where even with something like Seraphs, even with a lot of HP that Doxa has, this Dig roster can pop you if you don't have time to either Zhonya's or use that Rift Walk. And Dig are taking advantage of that one here. So it's TSM now in these team fights. We're starting to lag behind, especially when key cooldowns like that Glacial Prison or the Aqua Prison from Chime aren't quite hitting.
TSM behind right now, at least in momentum. Hold relatively even, all things considered, though. Still trying to find a fight back, but XU has been so good, and so has Hoon to be a front line. Tidal Wave goes out. They're going to find the first pick onto Insanity. Big pick coming out for TSM, but can they transition into more? Tomo! Tomo jumping forward! Able to pop the GA, looking for more onto Doxa. Tomo going absolutely bonkers, but Doxa brings it back and gets destroyed. Is it enough? Is it enough? He will slide away. Hoon forward. Dignitas taking down TSM. And even when TSM get the pick onto Insanity, it does not matter.
That could be game 1, and honestly, Insanity may have gotten taken out, but Tomo did the damage of 2 players, Eric, and this could be the game here for Dignitas. At the very least, it is going to be the inhibitor, and you know what? Double buffs, full health, level 18 casted in. They aren't going to push their luck with that one unless XU gets a big kick again.
Ooh. A little bit worried for Doxa. You never know when XU is going to do these kicks. But like that, Dignitas, their timers are long, but this isn't the most high damage that they brought to take this space, so TSM will get another chance.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in that fight really is Tomo stopwatch. Now, that isn't available. It could very well go into the GA, just so you do have that opportunity to sort of come back. Not quite stasis, not quite as good. We're going to have to see. Tomo will have to be careful. This one opportunity for stasis is now out of the picture. going forward. And if TSM get another drop on him like that, fights could go very differently. But for the moment, Dignitas, mid, auto pushing, Baron buff still in their hands. This opportunity where the map is fantastic for them. And even though this Baron buff is about to expire, you can see what Dig have been able to do, set up vision, Scuttlecraft, everything in their favor, because what's coming up in less than 2 minutes, Eric? The Dragon Soul for either team. A very powerful win con for either one of these rosters, and it is what they've set their sights on.
And TSM, they're so stressed to get these big picks onto the carries. I mean, Insanity we talked so much about earlier, but Tomo and Diamond, this is a duo that came out from FlyQuest Academy last year, and they were one of the more underrated bot lanes. You know, even though FlyQuest did have their struggles, Tomo and Diamond did have their performances.
I agree. I think they definitely had some high highs, and we're looking to see if they can, one, repeat them, and especially in Tomo's case, see how high he can really go. I think we look at Diamond as a player. He's been around this scene for a long time, way before my time. You probably know more about that, Eric, but just overall, he's always been consistent, always been good, and another player who maybe this is the year we see him break into new heights.
I remember having discussions with him at the start of Academy last year, and Diamond would always talk about, I just combined their names into Domo.
I was going to let it go, man. I wasn't going to say anything. I'm going to be real.
I caught myself, but Diamond would always talk to me about, like, what counter matchup he was looking for. It wasn't like as much leaning into the meta as leaning into a way to counter the meta. When people were going Kalista Renata, Diamond was like, I'm going to take Janna. We're going to take Aphelios and dominate you, and Dignitas are looking to dominate this fight. Chime getting picked off by Tomo. Tomo looking for more Wild Turtle, bringing in the calling, trying to take down Hoon, but Hoon is that big, beefy boy, and he'll absorb damage for days. Dignitas marching into the base of TSM, down 2 in the last stand, coming out for TSM, led by Hanser. No one there to defend him, and Dignitas victory march in the base.
And so well played from Dignitas Challengers. They were behind and falling further and further so, but they managed to bull it back with some excellent team fighting coming through here. And TSM, though they tried, they weren't able to get the win this game.
Great display in a 43-minute game, B. We went
was that 43 minutes?
Yeah, we went on for quite a while right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that was quite the game to see between both of these squads, especially considering the amount of experience that we have in both teams and
100%.
amount of new talent that's looking to be brought back up. I mean, Dignitas, they were going against a veteran roster, but they have some pretty good shooters in their own pocket.
One thing I want to say really quickly, too, is that, I mean, when we look at a player on Dignitas' side like Insanity, he's a player who we know is very vocal, leader to the team, and something he wants to continue working on. He specifically had said to me the other day, and I think it was you who told me last year when he was also still on Dignitas Challengers during the Proving Grounds, and they were in a lot of situations where, oh, you know, it wasn't looking very good for them. What did you say to me, Eric? It was like, oh, it's fine. We're going to win.
Yeah, he was completely chill in his post-game interview where he's like, yeah, don't worry. Yeah, we're behind. We're still going to win.
Yeah, and like that ability to kind of keep the team level-headed in these scenarios is definitely something you want in a player who's trying to make it back to the LCS.
I also want to give a standout performance to XU's Lee Sin. It wasn't the flashy engages that we normally see from Lee Sin. It was the flashy counter engages that we got out of XU that time, and it did really well to protect the backline of his team.
Agreed. And I think there was a lot of heal for Tomo. I think was so important, and both Tomo and Insanity, but especially the Zeri, which, you know, even though ADC is in a good spot right now, it's also still, you know, ADC in 2023. You can get taken down pretty easily. So committing things like All Out, committing things like the Dragon's Rage to just get people like this Kassadin off your AD carry, Wild Growth, all this shielding coming through. It's a great thing to see and how well they coordinated it.
All right, well, Beat, it's boring if just the two of us talk about it, so we're going to take a moment to take a short break. When we return, we'll have Myra back in the desk to break out in that game.